Hey guys, it's Kelly. I'm going to do a tutorial for my design team project for Tresors de Luxe, and I'm going to talk through this part with you. So I've made these bags before, and I know that I have a tutorial for how to do them, but I'm going to do it again because I love doing them and I wanted to do this for one of my design team projects. So what it is it's kind of like a Tussie Mussy, but I make it out of a paper bag, and it's really cute. I had excellent feedback. People love getting these, guys. They love them. And this is just the one that I have in my craft room, and I just put some odds and end flowers in there, and I hang them up, and then it's really pretty. Just store those little things like flowers and stuff in there, or whatever you'd like. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this using some of the Tresors de Luxe gorgeous laces and trims and flowers and embellishments. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but I just wanted to give you some measurements first, so before I speed through the creation of it. So I'm using the Celebrated paper sacks, and I get them from Michaels, and the size I'm using for this little one, if time will allow and I can get my videos done, I'd like to do another one that's a big one. It's also a Celebrated bag. If I do, I'll give you the measurements for that. So this Celebrated bag is the 3.5 inches by 2 inches by 6 3/4 inches. Okay, that's the bag that I'm using for this cute little one. I haven't done a little one like this yet, so I'm excited. So what I did first was I just made some measurements because I'm going to have to cut the paper to cover this bag. So just so you guys know, you can measure it yourself, but when you flip this little part is 2 inches, okay, at the bottom of the bag. That's 2 inches. This section here is 2 5/8 inches, but you want to cut your paper longer so that it covers that flapping over, okay? But this length from here to here is 2 5/8. And then on the back here to cut your paper, it's, can't read my writing, 4 5/8 from here to here. And that's giving myself just a tiny bit of an edge there, okay? So, and what I did was I cut all this paper. The paper that I'm using this time, because I think it's going to go really nice with some of the laces that I had in mind to use, I'm using the pink Paisley's paper. I've used this on several projects before, and I have so much left of it, and I love this paper, Butterfly Garden Collection from Pink Paisley. It's cross-referenced with Gypsy Chick, I think it is. It's coordinating. So really, really nice. So what I did was I just cut all my papers to size, and I'll show you how they fit on there. So these two are the front pieces. So although this was 2 5/8, I cut it significantly longer, and I'm using scraps. Look at all these scraps I have left over from projects. So the great thing about these little bags to give as gifts is you can use up your scraps. So I cut that piece there, and then I've got this piece here, and then on the back I'm going to put this piece here, and you see how I left just a little bit of an edge on all of that, and I like that. The paper is just that background, and I'm going to dress it up with Tresors de Luxe stuff. So there's those pieces. Now these two pieces here are for the edges that pop out, okay? You're going to put a hole in that, and you're going to put some ribbon on there and hang it. So this side edge measures 1 7/8 this way, and 2 3/8 this way. So you've got a piece that looks like that, and it doesn't look like it fits in here quite right, but it will. And you want it to go further down. If you have to trim it, you can, but you want it to go further down to keep it open as it hangs. Otherwise it's going to want to collapse on you because you got that crease in there. So you can get that crease out as much as you can, but it's still going to want to fold on you. So you want it to go down as far as possible, and you'll see how it works out. But I will speed that up. So there you go. So it'll be covered all the way around. So there's two pieces of that size on both sides. What I recommend you do is measure both sides, because it might be off by just a little bit. Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but still. Measure both gussets here just to make sure that it's the same size, okay? So those are the measurements. Let me run through them one more time really quick. So the bag itself is the Celebrated bags, the 3.5 inch by 2 inch by 6 3/4. So long ways, 6 3/4. Okay, but we're going to turn it and make a pocket here. Okay, so this length here, 2 5/8. I would use 3 inches though at least to cover up, to go all the way down. Then you've got 2 inches here. Then you've got 4 5/8 here, 1 7/8 here by 2 5/8. Okay. Now these measurements are raw measurements on the front and the back. Size it out however you want. Okay, those are just basic measurements for you to start with. But what you should do, some people like a bigger gap in here. You might like a bigger one, or you might have might want to mat your paper. You know, layer it, however you want to do it. Just play with your measurements, but that's just a starting point for you. Okay, so now I'll speed up the video as I create this cute little bag, and I hope you like it. Okay, so now I will talk you through all the sped up portions. So I'm just showing you that I did ink all the edges of that paper, and for the papers I used tea dye, distress ink, and for the bag I actually chose Vintage Photo to distress the edges with that. Just with my blending tool, I just hit it around the edges. And now, just easy peasy, for laying down the paper, I actually just use my ATG. It's not going to be tugged on, you know, so you can use your ATG or other kind of adhesive. But when you glue down your pocket, I do recommend using score tape, and we'll get there. So, and that's the 1/4 inch score tape. That stuff is the best I've found for keeping down the pockets like that. And it's the easiest to use. I mean, you could just rip it with your finger, but I wind up cutting it just because it makes it nice and neat. So just glue down your pocket, and there it is. So easy. And then the edges here, in another tutorial that I did, I'll put the link on for that one too. I showed a way to reinforce this. Now this paper that I'm using is really heavy cardstock. It's a really good quality paper, and it's very thick. And I chose not to reinforce the inside because I'm not going to put some massive heavy duty candy in this one like I did for the last tutorial that I did. They were Halloween bags. So for this one, if you're going to put something heavy in it, I would recommend that you reinforce the inside with a piece of paper, and I'm talking about the gusset there, that little edge piece. I would suggest that you reinforce that inside portion before you put an eyelet on there, and just cut 4 pieces instead of 2, and then poke the hole in there and get your eyelet in there. It definitely helps to keep it more stable. But this bag is thick, the paper is thick, and my plan for this bag, I just decided not to do the inside. It's a lot easier without doing the inside as well, but that's an option. So you'll see in the other video where I say, oh, you need 4 pieces for the gusset, and that's if you're going to reinforce it. So, and I just found my center on the edge piece and poked the holes in there and grabbed some eyelets and stuck them in. I love making these little bags, and when you turn them upside down they look like little houses too, so I'm sure I'm going to be using a bigger bag and making some houses. So there I'm just showing you that I cut a portion of lace, and there's the portion I believe I'm showing you. Yeah, there's the piece of lace that I cut. I just wanted that small trim piece, so I cut it and then I inked it using Vintage Photo and tie-dye. And then I just, real simple guys, I just hot glued it down. When you're hot gluing on your pocket, be careful not to glue down your pocket. Yeah, I almost did that one time, but I caught it just in time to get it up and it didn't ruin the paper. So make sure you leave some room in between that pocket and your paper. So yeah, I'm just doing it all around the edge, and you know, I didn't really have a plan as far as like exactly how this was going to work out. I kind of laid some stuff out and what I wanted to use. I always, you know, I lay some things out. I don't wind up using everything. But darn it, I should have done that lace all around the edges, and I kept cutting it, and then I added it on, and it still wound up looking very nice. But yeah, just forethought, you know, I should have just kept circling around. It would have been straighter. But there we go. Super easy. And our lace over at Tresors de Luxe, the lace that you get it's so thick that I did not burn my fingers at all when I laid the glue down. That's how thick it is. So, and there I'm cutting another portion of the lace. I used that lace in my last project too. I really like that. It's so gorgeous. Look at it laying there. I don't cut up all the lace all the time, but I seem to be just cutting it up for every project I've done so far. But so I cut one portion and I didn't cut it quite right, and I wound up using it in the back and covering it up with something. You'll see. So that's the back of the bag, and I extended it all the way across. No, wait, I'm sorry, that's the front, and that's still got the pocket on it. So I'm gluing that portion down. And I didn't use a whole lot because I wanted it to lay real nice and still have just a little bit of movement to it. So I just did the tips. I love the way it just lays on its own. So I just kind of let it flop down like that. And that's another piece. I love that piece. And I went round and round with how I was going to use that, and I wound up cutting it, of course, and wrapping it around the edge, and I really like how that looked. But we'll get there. So see, I wish I would have gone all the way around because I didn't like how it stopped so abruptly. It just didn't look right. It looked unfinished to me. So I wound up cutting some more of that trim. And then instead of going all the way around the back like I should have, I cut two small pieces. It's no big deal. You just glue them together, and you know you can't even tell unless you look real careful and you're looking for things I did wrong. And if you're doing that, don't look at my stuff. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no one notices those little imperfections that we notice when we create something, right? We're so hard on ourselves. But, so yeah, I'm gluing down the little pieces at the bottom there to try and make it, you know, kind of blend together a little bit nicer. And I wound up going all the way around the back. So that piece that didn't turn out quite right, I cut it just a little bit off on the edge. I wound up using it on the back and then just offsetting it with a button at first. And then I think I pulled that button off. I didn't like how it turned out. Little dabble do ya. And that little flower right there is from another lace section. I glued that down and then glued the button down, and that wound up getting nixed later. I don't know, it just didn't, it's okay. I just wanted it to be more even. So I had all those gorgeous little pieces. By the time you cut the lace, they wound up being like little embellishments. So there's the flowers that I did. So I wound up, because that's what I cut it from, I wound up cutting those little flowers from another lace portion. And I'll have all the links to everything that I used in the description bar below. But I just cut a string of pearls because that was the only pearls that I had that was the right color and the right size. So I just cut it and put a dab of hot glue in there and then pushed it down in that hole and then pulled up the little petals around it so that it wouldn't be such a big ball in there and look not right. And that wound up looking nice. I like that. So I just offset those and finished off the edges. And I'm showing you that, you know, where I cut that piece of lace from a totally different piece. And I wrapped it around the edges there. So it's a little bright. Sorry guys, you can't see it too well. But, and then I just put 3 flowers on there. I like things in odd numbers. If you're going to put something down, it's either 1 or 3. I don't like putting 2. It just doesn't, I don't know. 3 is the magic number. So, and then I just had a couple little tags that I made, and I love that gorgeous cameo that I had from my stash. And
And it's a little heavy, the cameo is, so kind of weighs it down a little bit. But it just fit perfectly with the color and everything. I had to do it. So I just added a couple little tags, and I just inked them. And I put some eyelets in my tags and put some simple ribbon in there. My video cuts out at the end kind of abruptly, so I'm sorry about that, but I got the meat of it in. So just choosing a black eyelet and going with the dark color eyelets to kind of tie in with that real pretty cameo. So using my crocodile. And then I decided to take that really fine pearl trim and hot glue it around the lace. It looked really pretty. And it kind of tied in with the way that I put the pearls in those flowers. I think without that pearl trim, you know what, it would have still been pretty. But it definitely helped bring it all together really nicely. To add just that one quick strand of pearls. And that's just for my stash. I'm sure Lucy has something very similar to that in her store, but I just happen to already have that in my stash. So yeah, I did wind up taking that button off and putting a matching flower just like what was on the front. And I don't think I recorded that. And here's where my camera knocks out on me. I just added the ribbon and the pearl trim to hang it up with, and then it was done after I glued on my cameo. And there's pictures again of the finished product. So, and I just have some of the gorgeous laces just stored in there, and that's what I'll use it for now until I give it to someone. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.